everyone. Earlier today, I spoke a little bit about the underachievers in the National Hockey League right now, who in my opinion are the Vegas Golden Knights and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now I want to talk about the overachievers. I think just looking at the standings and just, evaluating every team's play, I think there are about 4 teams that we can say right now are overachievers. But there are 2 I want to touch on a little bit more than the other 2. And the 4 would be the New York Islanders, the Buffalo Sabres, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Vancouver Canucks. And they're all interesting in their own ways. Montreal, I like to kind of call them a team of misfits. They're a team mainly built off a bunch of trades outside of Carey Price. Little did we know that they would get off to this great of a start, especially with Shea Weber out. But it seems like they're just really motivated. As for Vancouver, it was in some ways it was kind of a death knell with Henrik and Daniel Sedin retiring this summer. But at the same time, I think it was the fresh start Vancouver needed. Unfortunately, both of them had injury problems. And I think it was time for them to pass the baton on to Brock Besser. And he's definitely accepted that baton and played well so far, along with Elias Peterson. Now, New York and Buffalo, I think, are actually in similar situations. Now, the New York Islanders, everyone kind of gave them the kiss of death, myself included, when they lost John Tavares this summer. That was obviously a big loss for them. But there were these little things going on that I think kind of actually improved them. First off, I do think John Tavares was almost like a crutch. I think the rest of the team kind of relied on him too much. I also look at them, stealing Lou Lamoriello as their general manager. If you know anything about Lou, he kind of specializes in rebuilds. He helped the New Jersey Devils win their Stanley Cups. Then he helped rebuild the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then they went on and hired Barry Trotz, who's fresh off his Stanley Cup win with the Washington Capitals. And of course, before that, he was with the Nashville Predators for a long time. So they hired 2, experienced guys right there off the bat. On top of that, I think they've got a great core, and they would have a great core regardless of whether or not John Tavares was there. And I think that core has actually strengthened without John Tavares there. And I'm talking about Anders Lee, who is now their captain, Josh Bailey, Matthew Barzal, who won the Calder Trophy last year, and then Brock Nelson. All of them are off to, especially Josh Bailey, Anders Lee, and Brock Nelson, they're all off to great starts. On top of it, and I alluded to this in a previous video, the Islanders' goaltending has been outstanding with Robin Lehner and Thomas Greiss. Now, I know they've actually struggled the past couple of games in Florida with the Lightning and the Panthers, whom they both lost to. But they're still exceeding expectations. I think a lot of people expected them to be, pretty much in the basement. And the hockey guy alluded to how tight the Metropolitan Division is, and I alluded to that as well earlier. And right now, I believe the Islanders are in 3rd place. However, they were just in 1st place last week, and there are 3 points separating the top 7 teams in that division. So it's still a long ways away, but I think the Islanders are strong. On top of that, I should mention they had some good free agency signings and trades this summer with Leo Komarov, who's a feisty forward, to say the least. I think he's very talented. He's also very gritty and definitely likes to cause trouble. He's one of those guys you hate playing against, but would love to have on your team. And then there's Tom Kuhnhackl, who won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's another great bottom line guy, but he'll also step in whenever it's needed. Now, moving on to the Buffalo Sabres, I want to start with them with Jason Botterill, who took over as their general manager back in 2017. If you know a little bit about Jason Botterill, he is a former player, but he was also on in the Penguins front office for quite some time. He was actually their assistant general manager and basically their general manager in waiting before he accepted the Buffalo job. And he's known for crunching numbers and making sure everything works out. So I think he was a perfect fit for Buffalo, just considering that he was starting at square one. So it's on him to build this team. He, had some pieces there already with Sam Reinhart and Jack Eichel, and he decided to trade away some assets, most notably Evander Kane. I'm definitely a big proponent of change in scenery, and I think that change in scenery for Evander Kane has benefited both him and the Buffalo Sabres. And speaking of change in scenery, we should talk about Jeff Skinner, who's off to a really hot start with the Sabres. I think in Carolina, he kind of did not meet expectations. I recall him really being hyped up when he was drafted, and so it felt like the Carolina-Buffalo trade was basically for peanuts for Jeff Skinner. I thought Buffalo would have had to give up a little bit more than a prospect and 2 draft picks in order to get him. So Botterill did a great job managing that, and Skinner has performed accordingly. And then, Jack Eichel is actually healthy, which is really great to see, especially for, American-born player. It's really important here in the U.S., I think, to see the American-born players thrive, especially those who are drafted high. And as we know, Jack Eichel was drafted with Connor McDavid, so it even puts kind of more pressure on him. So it's nice to see him do well. And I would be remiss if I did not talk about Jason Pominville. Jason Pominville is like an ageless wonder. It's like he found the fountain of youth from when he was with the Sabres the first time years and years ago. And I think he's serving as a great mentor to these young guys. He's always been a great presence in the locker room, and I think he understands that even more now. And especially since coming from, Minnesota for a few years, then obviously with Buffalo before that, he has seen teams succeed, and he knows what it takes to really get to the next level. So I think that combination of young talent, along with a veteran like Jason Pominville, has really helped the Buffalo Sabres. And if I'm an Islanders or a Sabres fan, I'm honestly really excited about the future. Even if I'm a Vancouver or Montreal fan, I'm really excited about the future. I don't think that all 4 of them will make the playoffs this year. It'll definitely, the All-Star game or the trade deadline will definitely, tell us whether or not those teams have truly a good shot of making it. But I think at least 1 or 2 of them can sneak in and make some noise. But that's why each team plays 82 games a year, is to, see what they can do. But like I said, I'm really excited for all 4 of their futures, and I think it's important, especially for the 4 of them, because they're older franchises and they're in notable markets, for them to succeed. I think it's good for their fans, but it's also great for the league. I want to thank you all for watching. Please make sure you hit like and subscribe so you can receive notifications on our future videos, and feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much and have a great night.